Okay.
Awesome. So I'm calling this the Pat Harrison Knows Nothing podcast, and
All right, good one.
and so it's Pat Harrison Knows Nothing podcast where I admit that I know nothing, talk about what I do know, and then talk to people that know more than me and allow them to influence my life. And it's very much brought to you by Blue Magazine, and I'm here in the Blue Magazine studio, and they're allowing me to play with their mics. Christian is helped me out in such a major way, and so Blue Magazine's not-for-profit kind of branch, I guess, is Moment of Silence. They help out law enforcement and first responders in mental health and other sorts. To learn more about them, you can go to mosdonate.org. And thank you so much. I couldn't be more appreciative to them and the organization for allowing me to be here. So the first episode here, I want to be talking about the difference between the nucleus colonies and packaged bees. The difference is a major one, and if you're just starting out in getting involved with bees and beekeeping, this is a decision that you'll have to make. It's basically the first decision that you're going to have to make. First, I guess, an update from me, Pat Harrison, and something that I'm calling the 1823 Project. The 1823 Project is where I basically pretend it is 1823. Something that has been brewing inside my mind for almost a year now, and so that's why it's 23. Imagining it was happening 200 years ago, and it really boils down to a question that I had a while ago of what would it be like if we ate like it was 200 years ago and had the medicine of today. And well, I think we would live forever if that was the case. And so, it is not the case because we very much don't eat like 200 years ago. And the medicine we have today is just to basically fix our eating garbage habits. And it also goes to this story that I read. Is actually, the guy's name is Bill Harrison. In Lewis Carman's biography, it's a 1865 account of New York City, where he talks about the market gardeners of Broadway. In one chapter, Bill Harrison, a childhood friend of his, a guy with a peculiar mustache. How convenient. Is a police officer in New York City, and they were getting into some shenanigans in the story, and he finally met at the end of the story. His plan was to go west and find some land and just live off the land for the rest of his life. It being a police officer in a time of New York City that was tumultuous. It was not a very good time of New York City's history. Much like the way that 1970s were explained to me. And I think it was kind of like the waves of how cities go through. This was one of the waves. And Bill Harrison was killed on his way out of New York City on like May 20-something, 1865. And so he never got west, which probably would just be New Jersey. A time where the American chestnuts were alive and well. And he was going to find a piece of property and probably chop down the American chestnut trees, build a house, and farm that land. Blows my mind, and it's something that, I'm trying to do here. I have moved west to Sussex County from Bergen County 2 years ago, and I, trying my best to do that. Live off the land. You can't really do it fully, but you can. What I do is I sell honey. I sell honey, exchange that honey for United States dollars, and then take those United States dollars and and buy other stuff like steak and other food and fun. So it's my closest attempt, and well, the starting off of these podcasts, I'm gonna give a little update on that. What else do I have? So then also like the other aspect of it is just like the mental clarity. If you're a millennial, the dream of being a millennial is to sell everything that you have and go buy a piece of property and to live off the land. Well, people have been saying that for 200 years. And so here I am trying to do that, trying to live the millennial dream. And so, and it's something that talking with my pop over this last little vacation that I had, he bought a new car and salesperson was like, oh, and it's got radio and automatic windows and AC and da 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 da. And my pop was like, I don't want it. Because he wanted to just roll the windows down and listen to the airflow, and he didn't listen to the radio. He was a salesman for Harborough, Harbro, a vestments and church gown company that my great-grandfather founded. And he just liked to think about the sales that he was doing, think about the day that he was having. And so he was a guy that lived in a way that he didn't have to escape the modern day quickness of the world. So a little inspiration from Pop and a little inspiration from Bill Harrison 200 years ago. So yeah, that's the update on the 1823 project, and more updates to come. So I will keep you posted there. I have a live stream on Instagram where I'm taking questions. So if you have questions for the second segment, you put them into that chat. I had a couple people email me questions of their own so that I can answer them at the end of this session. So if you're here on the live stream, do pop your question in, and if you're listening to this on whatever day you're listening to it, do send me an email at pat@harby.net. That's PAT &HARB as in boy EE.net, and just put a subject line questions for the podcast, and we'll be able to make that happen. So yeah, this podcast is actually just going to be bopped onto YouTube, and so I have a camera set up here, and well, you're watching it. I'm going to put that onto YouTube. So for those that are on the Instagram live asking me that is where you'll find it. So to the main point of that I'm trying to make here, and the comparison of Nucs versus packaged bees. The biggest difference, and it's a little jargony, and so buckle up if you're not attached to the jargon. If you're not attached to this jargon and you are a beekeeper or you have bees on the way, this is jargon that you need to know. So I'm going to use the jargon. Jargon is the language of the hobby, the industry in which you're in. And so without jargon, we will just have to simplify things to a point that it's not even worth communicating anymore. So when I say nuke, I mean 5 frames of bees and brood, eggs at all stages or within all 3 days, larvae of all stages, capped brood of all stages, and adults of all stages. So there's foragers in that nuke, and there's day-old nurse bees in that nuke. And having nurse bees of all stages is super important, because when a egg is laid in a cell, it stays an egg for 3 days. That egg hatches on the 3rd day, and then it becomes a larvae, an open brood, I would call it. That open brood is kind of like the caterpillar stage of the honeybee. After 6 days as open brood, that larvae gets capped over by nurse bees, wax-producing bees, where they manipulate wax and move that wax around to cover that larvae. That larvae then spins a cocoon inside of the cell, much like a chrysalis, much like the chrysalis stage of the butterfly. Now, it stays a chrysalis for, I don't know, it's a total of 21 days. I'm not going to do the math in my head. For the rest of the remainder, on the 21st day, that bee emerges, and it is a day-old nurse bee. And so it really existed for 21 days, and then it emerged 21 days after that. And so now you have a day-old nurse bee. First thing it does, it turns around and it cleans its cell. And then it has certain glands inside of on its body to allow it to feed other larvae. And so it immediately starts consuming pollen and nectar and producing royal jelly and brood food, feeding the larvae of the hive. After that, after about a week so, really to simplify it, certain glands turn off, certain glands turn on. It might become a wax-producing bee. After that, certain glands turn off, certain glands turn on, and then the stinger starts to develop. The stinger's always been developed, but the venom inside of the stinger starts to become more potent. I've stung myself with nurse bees, and I stung myself with foragers. I think the foragers hurt more than the nurse bees for sure. If the nurse bees even sting, you have to really make them try to sting you. And so with the nuke, you get all of that. And that's the really important thing. I manage bees for people, where I'm managing bees for people on their property, for them, for a fee. And I exclusively use nukes, my own nukes that I do sell. And if you're watching this and you're looking to buy bees, and you're in the Northeast, I have bees for sale, $220 a nuke for 5 frames of bees and brood. A subtle plug here. Because packages come along with a whole host of other problems. So the nukes, and it really boils down to the age of the bees that they are. So a package is a package of bees. It's 3 pounds of bees with a fertilized queen and maybe some food, some sugar there to make sure that they don't starve. And so those bees are taken from existing colonies and shaken into the basket in which they're sent and mailed to us. And so to walk it all back, if the package arrives on April 20th and the nuke arrives on April 20th, the nuke, you get all the ages from egg to forager all ready. End the comb so that queen can lay today. And if you have only foundation, that queen, the foragers are going to be bringing in nectar today to draw out that comb so that queen has more space, and you're going to have a roaring colony. Colonies have nukes sometimes have a problem of being too strong for new beekeepers and end up swarming, which is a good problem to have when it really boils down to. Packages, on the other hand. So you have 3 pounds of bees, and let's say it's on April 20th, those bees arrive at your doorstep because they were sent in the mail. We're going to imagine it took 3 days for it to get sent to you, from shaking it to from shaking it to delivering it to processing it. It's coming from some southern state all the way up to northern New Jersey, and so there's hands that it has to pass through. 3 days is generous. I've had I've tracked some packages, and I've had it 5 days. I had 2 days, and most of them were 3 days. And so now you have no nurse bees that are a day old, assuming that you had a day old nurse bee shooken into that box. You certainly didn't only have just nurse bees shaken into the box. You probably had 5-week-old nurse bee workers shooken into that package. So you have bees of all ages, now slightly older, sent to you. If you're dealing with only foundation as a new beekeeper, you're at a particular disadvantage because now you have to draw that comb to be able to, for that queen to lay an egg in which the queen should lay an egg. So then there's another 3 days there. So that's now 6 days of at least to build some comb out. Maybe you're feeding it, but like, a package to draw some comb in order to lay eggs. 3 days, assuming. That egg is laid, and then it takes 3 days for that egg to hatch and become a larvae. So now it's another 3 days. So you have at least 9 days there between to get the first larvae that needs to be fed. It needs to be fed by a day old nurse bee, and so you're back behind yourself many times over. I didn't pull up beforehand the prices that people are charging for Nucs and for packages. But if you wanted me to manage your package for you as opposed to a nuke for you, I would charge like $500 more is what I quoted someone, and they're like, why? And I explained exactly that, about how having those bees be not of the correct age is going to cause all kinds of problems in the way that the queen is treated. The queen is going to be treated as if it's failing, when it might not be. It's just hasn't laid eggs in so many days, and it seems like the pheromones and the vibe of the hive, if you really were to say it like that, kind of blames the queen. So emergency queen cells might be developed with that first round of brood, and as a new